Okie dokie, okie dokie. All right, folks, we are back in the Code Chronicles. Very excited, very excited. I was doing some behind the scenes work, a little bit on the leaving episode. What was it, 32, I believe. We left episode 32 with kind of an unknown with the based project percentage uh, component, and I've made quite a ways on it, but I haven't fully configured it. I was kind of doing some behind the scenes work. I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to pop on the camera and start walking through. I cleaned up a bit of the files, removed some console logs, things like that. I've added some back because I'm trying to debug, but ultimately, folks, welcome back to the Code Chronicles. Um, my name is Pags, your lovely host. I've got a software engineering course in the description below. We are blasting through more goals and just more achievements, and the channel is growing a ton today. There's been a lot of progress, so I am super humbled and grateful. And this is becoming more of a tangible reality for me. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Um, just a quick blip about supporting me if you want to. The software engineering program, it's $2 a day, and I'm my goal is to ultimately land on distilled modules, kind of like this, kind of like what we're building here. This is more long form. This is kind of mining and feeling things out and exploring, debugging, breaking stuff. The software program is much more distilled. It's much more, hey, here's things that I've already built 100 times. Here's things that I know are inherent to front end enterprise development. So that is the software engineering course in a nutshell. Obviously, we're going to be implementing new things. I'm going to have a Next authentication service in there as well. I'm going to put in a Prisma service in there. So we're going to touch some back end concepts and ideas as well. Contract generations, things like this. But if you are a React developer or a front end developer, that is going to be a big tool and resource for you. But anyway, back to the episode in the context of today's issue. The thing we want to do is have this project completion component. Say that 5 times fast, right? Right now we're measuring the task status column. The one that is labeled done is how we're measuring all of our project cards. We can't see them, I guess, and right now I've got my console up on this screen. Not sure why we can't see the project completed component. We should be able to see it right now. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. We just need to refresh. So we're measuring basically the task completions. Just to draw a context of the. Let me go to the Kanban page. We're measuring it based on the last column, which we've labeled done. But the functionality I'm trying to now add is, what if someone wants to say completed should be the one that measures the progress percentage card, right? Or QA or test demo. Basically, we want to give the user the ability to choose which column that they want to measure the project completion by. Me labeling it done, that just seems obviously proper. But the reason why we're doing this again is because ultimately we want to build another component on top of this idea once we figure this one out, where maybe I can put a line in between, let's say completed and done, or maybe right here for QA, or the user could put the line, frankly, wherever they want, and any columns after that line, that will measure project completion. And then the further idea would be to have two lines, kind of where maybe after a certain mark, that's your 75% done mark. And then the final line will be, we'll figure that out. We'll talk concepts and ideas on that. But right now, basically the only goal is to make it so we can measure, okay, we want completed. Okay, now that's where our project completion is going to be measured on. So that's the context in a nutshell. If you saw the Monakai theme pop up, that is the theme I am using. Someone had asked the other day, hey, which VS Code theme are you using? And that is the one. It's the Monakai theme. So if you go to your extensions, I believe Monakai Pro, and it's going to be this one. You can set the theme. I believe mine is, I believe the Spectrum, I think it is, or Machine, one of the two. It looks like Spectrum. Boom, and that's mine. And obviously I've got some Material UI icons, I believe these are. So for the folder, go ahead and copy those down if you want them. Icon theme, I believe it's that one. So yeah, just a little customization, you know, it makes the experience a little more fun and a little more wholesome to some degree, a little more enjoyable for me. Sometimes you can change up your theme too after you get over it, right? And then you feel like you're on a new laptop or something. Because that's actually what happened. I had this theme for the longest time and I spent so much time on it. And actually I was using a different theme. And then at work, I completely migrated everything over to that computer basically, where I was just using that as both personal and work, which I would not recommend doing, but I got used to the theme on that computer, which I believe was the Machine theme. This was the original theme I had been using for a while. And I think I customized it too, where you can do that in your JSON settings. Oh, let's see, JSON settings. Yeah, you could customize some of these themes and do some stuff in here. Indent rainbow. That's what this other thing is, where you see these like pink, light purple, darker purple kind of lines. That's all these colors right here, and you can make them however you want, right? So boom, let me delete some to show you. You can customize it. Actually, let me not, because then it's going to delete it. But you can see all these indentations. These are all colors that I just had hand selected. So it looks really pretty. You know, I would recommend just spend a little time on your DX, is what it's called, developer experience. You know, that's where you get your prettier, your linters, your formatters, all those things. It makes your development a lot more enjoyable, I think, personally. So anyway, back to the problem at hand. Just some things just to catch you guys up. I've edited the endpoint, so now we just have a get task column toggled endpoint, and all that is just any one of these columns that we're toggling. We're just pushing the name of it into our database. We were pushing the ID, but I realized, okay, it's probably actually going to be easier to just push the name. So every time we toggle one, we just toggle to do, it gets pushed to the database. If we toggle in progress, if we refresh our database, we should see in progress, boom, there it is. So it seems to be that the endpoint is working. I was struggling a lot actually to get that all configured, had just minor bugs, but now what I want to do is just get it from the database. And that's kind of what we're looking at here is right now we're running through this code block. So we're pulling this function somewhere else in this component, the base project percentage component. We're running that function or that endpoint. This endpoint here is task store.get task column ID, and it's going from our task store. This is actually where the endpoint's being called. And right now I'm just measuring why it's breaking. So I do these things like these little console logs, right? Where you can see in the code block where the code is breaking, like which line is breaking the code, right? So if we watch the task console log right here, especially with console ninja, it helps a ton, where you can literally see, boom, running 1, running 2, and then it'll skip, go to running 4. And that's how you know that this line is breaking the code. Or in this case, it's going to neither running 3 or 4. So that's interesting. We're getting just 1 and 2. But we can easily tell that the code is obviously being stopped here. So then I go to this endpoint, right, of toggled API task column toggled, which is this guy right here, and I do the same thing. Let's figure out which line's breaking this code. So I do running 1, running 2, running 3, and you can see it skips running 3, goes to running 4. So something here is breaking it. The Prisma schema maybe breaking a task column toggled. It really shouldn't be. Find many. So let's regenerate the contract. Oop, spelled it wrong again. npm run dev. Oop. Let's go ahead and try that. Boom. Okay, so we're up and running again, I believe. And we should have some material to find. So when we refresh this page, it's fetching for, let me get out of the Prisma schema. This is the component that's fetching for these things. The task column toggled is getting fetched. So we see running 1, running 2, and then boom, goes to running 4. So over here in the console, let me drag it over. We're having a console error 500, request failed with status code 500. So that's an internal server error. So we know it's not the client side, or at least in theory, we know it's not the client side. It looks like we're doing all the proper things here and in our client component. So let's put these things together. This is our client. And this is going to be roughly on the backend. So let's think about why this is. Prisma.task column toggled. We're doing a GET request, I believe, in the task store. So we're doing a GET request. Let me zoom out a bit. Sorry, guys. I know people typically do not enjoy that because it's really little, but it's sometimes really hard to see what's going on. So we have our GET task column toggled. It's going to this endpoint, which is API/task column toggled. So if we go to our pages /API/task column toggled, that is here. So it looks like we're named proper task column toggle. Just checking simple things, guys. It's always something simple. You know what I mean? Typically, it's always something simple. So let me zoom back in for y'all. Let's close out of these components and things. Let's focus on this. What could break this? Why is it not going through a Prisma thing? Is Prisma having an issue? Do we instantiate Prisma client properly? Looks like we did. We have a GET request. We have our post request, right? It is going to our database too, so we know the router's roughly configured proper, which technically this is kind of a router right here, right? Get a little water, right? A little aqua true, right? This is very interesting. So let's try it one more time. If we pick any column, we should see it pop up into here. Let's test the merged column. So we're going to click that and refresh the database. We see it pop up. We also saw the item count increase. So we know for a fact that's the post task column toggled functionality is working. The endpoint's working. The task store, everything's configured proper. Okay, so something is going on here. So we say await Prisma dot, let's see what we have for task column toggled. We can do one of these 3 or 4 things. And we have find many, right? You know, I wonder in the Prisma schema if we're finding just one. Is that the issue? Can we only find one? Because we only have a string instead of an array of strings, potentially. Seems arbitrary though, so we're finding many. Let's say, let's just rename it. Maybe it's something simple like this. Just because we named them both the same, maybe, column, that's what I meant to say. Toggled column. So let's send that to the front end. Let's try that out, right? So boom, running 1, 2, 3. Nope, nothing to do with the naming. Task column toggled. Let's go back to our Prisma schema. Task column toggled, task column toggled ID, task column name, right? Do I need to say that? Include should. I feel like it should just have all these things, right? Yeah, this is only if we're like fetching task and we actually want to include like task status, right? That's how we do that, I believe, right? But we don't want to fetch for task or task statuses. We wouldn't say task, right? Include the task. I think that's how we roughly do that, or something like that. But we had to use it earlier, so I don't think we need to include. I really just genuinely thought we just need to go task column toggle find many. That finds it in our database. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna drop the table. I had this issue because we went from strings, we went to IDs, we changed some naming. I'm gonna drop the table, drop the collection. Let's see if that fixes our problem. Sometimes it's interesting stuff like that. You know what I mean? Potentially it's not though. This could be a minor issue that is elsewhere. Let's try. So we'll go in progress. Let's push that to our database and see if it repopulates a collection for us. It does. Perfect. Here's our very first one. And let's try it out. Let's see. Running 1, 2, 3, and there it goes. So it seemed like we needed to flush the data. Looks like it's working if we got to that 3 point. Such an interesting error, right? So I'll have to talk with Chester on that, if that's how all kind of ORMs work or how data storage works, because I imagine that's probably not effective. If at any point you need to change your data schema, you shouldn't have to delete all of your data too. That seems like I'm missing something there. So I feel like you should be able to remap your data pretty quickly or something. So I will ask that question to my dear friend Chester. Another one of my great friends is up here tonight. He is very, very, very talented as well. So let's see, task column toggled. He's a software sales guy and really, really, really smart. So very, very excited to see him tonight. Let's see, task column toggled. So we are getting what we want to see here, right? Let's put a few asterisks next to it. And boom. I've got my console on the left side. Because we should have to say task column toggled dot this name for it, right? So boom, here's our object coming in and we want the name. So let's go ahead and pop that name. I'm stealing that. And we're just going to say dot task toggled name, just undefined, and then it should pop up. Huh. Why is it undefined? Why is it undefined? Is it because in the task store, are we setting the wrong type here? Should it be an object first? Should it actually be this, right? Where it's task column like this, and then task column ID, right? String as well. Perhaps that's why we have an error. So let's see, but I'm going to short circuit it for now and just say any, trusty old any, right? Let's just see if we can get that string on our base percentage page, right? So undefined, and then it should pop up. Boom, there it is. And it looks like it's coming in an array, but I don't think we're storing it as an array, right? Anywhere. So if we go to task store, I don't see it as an array. We're not doing it there. If we go to our Prisma schema, I also don't see us storing it as an array. So I'm questioning why it's getting set as an array. Let's go to our task store and see what we're doing here. We're not setting anything as an array either. It's just going in just as the response. And let's look at the task column toggled. I don't think we're setting it as an array either. Looks like a string. So let's pop that off. Let's see if that does anything right. Task column toggled ID. We're just setting the task column toggled name to the name we pass in, the column name that we pass in, right? So I don't see us passing it in as a array anywhere. So it's coming back as an object within an array. So let's go to our percentage. What I want to do is, let's see, task toggle. Let's see if we can just do this. And console log task toggle. And boom, this way we could say the 0th index, right? And just say task column toggled. Toggled name, I believe it was, right? Boom, in progress. So can we actually just do that 0th element right here? Say 0th element and pop that right here. Will that work? Looks like it does. So will it always be the 0th element is the question. Let's remove this, and I'll even remove that, and let's just set it where it needs to go. So we were setting that string to done, and now we want to set it to this. So it looks like we're working because we're seeing some of these other things adjusted. And let's go ahead and go to our Kanban. If we measure by the in progress, looks like we have 3 tasks out of how many total? Maybe we do need a total task count too as well, now that I'm looking at it. So we have 14. So 3 divided by 14 looks like we're getting roughly the correct percentages of like 16% or so, or whatever that number was. But we're getting some rendering errors. Looks like if the data is not there, the server-side component's not going to render, or this is a client-side component actually. So what's going on? What's going on here? But we did see it working. We did see it briefly working. Let's add some of these, right? Boom, there we go. That might have been our problem, or it might have just reloaded when I saved. But 16%, that sounds about right. So let's go back, see if we're loading on mounted. I think we are, but that's the problem is, so await store, maybe we want to put that first, right? So let's measure it, let's put it back to the done, and let's see if it just auto kind of does everything we were anticipating it to do. I'll go ahead and put this and hit save. No, it looks like it's still measuring. Well, let's see what it's measuring, right? Basically, we always want the latest thing for now that someone's inserted. Will that'll work great for now. So I imagine it's still doing in progress. Let's just see if we remove this. Undefined, of course, and let's see what is being passed in. So the latest one, the 0th index, is always going to be in progress. So maybe we don't want to do the 0th index, but we actually want to do the length -1, right? So the 2nd index, and then if we add another, it'll be done. So that seems like a more robust algorithm where it's always going to keep track of the latest thing we click. And this is just kind of a temporary thing. So if we click to do, it should pop over to do now. So let's swap over. Oh, reading length. Okay, let's do that, right? It's technically not going to be a valid measurement until there's something there. Not a number, not a number, not a number. Interesting. But ultimately, it should be, we're going to end up on an array. So we might have to rewrite this calculated function, which I didn't want to do because I really like how it's performing now. It's very consistent. And we do see this is changing to do. So it is working. We're just having to deal with some DOM reactivity issue where the functionality of this project, base project percentage component, is fetching first before the data arrives. So it's like, hey, I'm trying to do all this math. I already ran through the file. I already ran through the code block. Where's the data for task column toggled.length? It's not there yet. So it's throwing a not a number error. So we do need to await that somehow, but let's just make sure the functionality is roughly working. So if we go to in progress, we should see in progress here. Next. Let's go back to our dashboard. Is there a way to just keep components mounted? Is that a thing where we can just not have to wait and do all this stuff, right? Function. Maybe we can await this function when it calculates. And then I'll bring them back in and we should see it all pop up. So in progress, perfect. So I'm going to steal our new lovely doubly algorithm here, or our set function. And that is going to be the magic sauce for calculating this for right now. And again, down the road, we do want to do that line thing where technically we can either do a push of, it can be an array, or we can calculate where that thing is in the index of columns and store that number and say, go back this length of task column toggled in the database. But we don't really want to do that, right? That just seems messy. So let's not do that, right? But there's always 10 different ways to skin the cat, which is kind of fun about software. It's like, you can think of different ways. I'm sure someone's watching this like, dude, you could do this in this way. It'd be way easier. They're probably right. You know what I mean? Like, probably. Okay, so let's make a change and save. We should be seeing the done measurement, right? So all the projects according to done. Let's call to log this one more time. Yep, we're getting running, done, perfect. So it's working. We just need to work on the reactivity of it. So I think what we can do is say async right here. And we'll say column name equals this. Maybe we can await it, right? Boom. How about that? How about that, right? How about that? Will that work? Looking at the console, not seeing any errors, which is good. It's not really doing the thing either. Oh, now we have a bunch of errors. So projects data. Oh, what is this? Base pie chart calculate. Promise string is not assignable to string. Did you forget to use an await? Interesting. So we're having some string errors. I might want to throw this to our trusty intern just to run through the syntax real quick. Make sure I'm doing proper. Can you fix these string error syntax issues? Boom. Let's see. Let's see what it does. It looks like there are a few issues with this code. I've identified them below. Removing the incorrect string use client at the beginning. Okay, ChatGPT, you don't need to roast me like that. You know what I mean? It just comes in hot like that, saying you're doing this all wrong. Okay, chat, we get it. We get you're like supposed to be the smartest thing in the world. Freaking roasting me on that. Unbelievable. Okay, so includes is not a function. I disagree. I feel like it is a function here. I feel like it is a function that's returning this. Okay, we're not going to listen to chat. I'm offended by it. I'm offended. That hurt my feelings. Okay, so let's wrap all of this and we'll say toString. Looks like that might be fixing that issue. No. Okay, calculate task complete. What about if we say toString right here? Okay, looks like that seemed to have solved something. Let's get rid of that if we don't need it. We might have needed it, but let's get rid of it and try to break something, see if that works. Okay, we got rid of that error. And then let's see, error use client. I feel like this is going to be a server-side component. So promise is not a thing. Again, let's stringify this to string. Boom. Okay, just tiny errors, tiny errors. Object promises. Really shouldn't be returning a promise. It should be returning both of these, right? Not a promise, right? But a string. Let's see. String is not valid because of, I see. So I do think we're going to have some issues on our functionality here. Let's just see real quick. If we take off that await, if the store can handle all this. And if we remove use client, I feel like that's not going to fully work. Let's see though. Running 1, 2, 3, and maybe we can keep fetching for projects until they load, but it should load, right? I guess the task technically need to come before the task toggled, right? To measure everything. And then all projects, let's see, what is this one again? Functions, okay, we find our unique projects. So that's all of these categories. Let's just check one more time. Or we'll check a bunch more times, but you guys get it. You guys are picking up what I'm dropping, right? And I also want to build a loader here because it's just kind of, it's a little bit lonely, you know what I mean? Without the loader, without some sort of, let's see, loading, boom. And this is kind of what a loader would look like in my mind for this is like no projects have loaded. There should be some sort of behavior here, right? So let's see, should be, yeah, something like that, right? And then boom, pops in with what we want. So projects, and there's got to be a better way to do skeleton loaders. I feel like there's a huge opportunity for that. I just, I'm unfamiliar with how. So, and I actually don't want to put anything in here except for 0% or something, or like 0, right? Let's see if that fixes our error. 0, boom. Can even say loading, right? Will that work? Loading. Looks like that works. And what would be the height of this deal, right? Looks like we have some div with inside of our chart, or a wrapper around the chart, it looks like, which I'm wondering why. It really should just be all within that base pie chart, but that's neither here nor there today, right? So let's see. Perfect. That's a good looking loader, right? So should just be saying loading, or even ... It's fine, right? Or even nothing. Can do that too. And what else? What else do we want? We want project name. We'll pop this down here. And instead of project name, we'll just put loading right here. Maybe, yeah? Loading, boom. Okay, and that's our skeleton loader. So if there's no projects, if project.length equals 0, return our loader. That's seems to be an effective thing, right? So let's go to the Kanban. That way on load, you see like a little something. Loading, boom. And then maybe we can put some frame or motion around it to pretty it up and stuff. But that way people aren't, looking at this as a sloppy thing, right? So we'll end up saying this skeleton loader. This will be one of our render templates. const skeleton. Oh, not that skeleton loader. Hold on, folks. Just getting through just prettyizing the thing and letting my brain rest for a second. That was a lot of work today on figuring out kind of getting that all working, even though the reactivity is not there. At least we can see it roughly working, right? So let me think how to do that render template. And that seems to be a reoccurring issue, I would say, or problem, right? Within we'll say project completion cards, right? Project completion cards, but that seems to be one of my weak points on Next.js, is not fully understanding the reactivity still quite yet. I think that's to be expected, right? Like with Vue, at the peak of me using Vue, oh man, I was understanding it front to back to front. You know what I mean? So boom, we have our project completion cards. We have our skeleton loader. We're cleaning up the template as a whole. We've got some dense kind of heady code, but it's at least organized. So it's not horrible to look at. This area is a little thick, but we got our all projects. That kind of finds our project categories for us, and that one's functioning. This is calculating. So that's going to be the one I want to keep open for now. But let's think about this. Let's think. So let's try it again. Let's think. If we go to do, that should be now our new measurement. So instead of the overall saying 50%, the overall should be much less. And I wonder if it's just a simple, if there's no projects, keep fetching for them, you know? Because technically we need, let me think about it. We need to get the columns. I think maybe that's the order, like measuring the task column at the last is maybe the order we want. I'm not sure, folks. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think it through, but I'll be honest, my head is hurting a little bit. So, What a smooth episode, though. I do feel like we made a lot of headway on this, and it is working. Right? The functionality of it is working. The reactivity of it is not, though. So we do want smooth reactivity by the end of this entire application. Everything should be really, really just, task popping over to new columns. Like the user should not have to handle reactivity at all. It needs to be a bulletproof thing, right? So project completion cards. So I wonder if it's here. It is. Okay, so the task column toggled is here at this point. I can see it because we're still rendering those in our endpoint. Let's go to the task store. Let me get that out. We're going to clean everything up a bit, right? Let's just double check for any console logs. It's all in the base toggle. Okay. Let's remove that one. We'll kind of leave that logic there for now and kind of until we ultimately figure out the array thing, because that's going to be its own kind of separate build on top of this functionality. And I do have a feeling that's going to be a little more tricky. So project completion cards, they still haven't rendered up until I save on this page or do something, right? Or copy this down, delete it, save, and then it should pop up, right? So let's console log all of our material. Let's console log. Let's see. We want our projects. We want to figure that out. Where are we setting our projects? So all projects, maybe we want to, so we want to get our task first then. Maybe we'll want to get our projects next. And then the task columns, right? What are we doing here with them? Task store, task columns. Let's see, task columns I feel like are relevant to here. Are we using task columns in here? Do we even need that anymore? Task column? It's coming from the toggled thing. I feel like we don't even need this, right? Okay, so we can get rid of that. Let's just double check, make sure at least our broken reactivity functionality is still working, right? Without the columns, I believe it is. Save, and I'll delete and save. So boom, popping up. Okay, so we didn't need that. That's good. Gets us one less thing to think about. Okay, so let's think. We're fetching the task, which we ultimately need first, because that is what's saying, okay, this task category. We don't actually have categories as a separate piece of data. Those are just part of the task. And out of that, we're rendering all these cards. These are all of our task categories that exist today. So that's coming from here. So we need to do task first, then all projects, and then we're measuring, right? Based on all of our tasks, and I guess all the projects next, we're measuring which column is saying you're done, you're completed. Project completion, and maybe we can even go as far as saying, where do we label all this? Column name. Maybe we could say const column name, right? Make it its own thing. Return, boom, right? Would that work? Return column name. String, and it's any. What if we made its function and it returned a string? Let's wrap this in a string, right? Really trying to emulate Vue's computed functions here. I don't know if you can do this in Vue either when it's a computed function. But the idea is I would be able to get this first and then calculate after. Right? So task column name. So we have that there. Then I also want to almost set it here. Project completion. Where's our little header for this? Project completion. Is that here? Title text, project completion. Oh, here it is. Okay, cool. So project completion, and then maybe even have something like this, right? Where you could see like which column you're associating it to or something, right? Text small, we could say opacity 50 even. And we could say MX2 just to give us some space, right? So maybe it's not parentheses done, but at done, right? Project completion at done. So does that make sense? So if we select another one, if we select to do, boom. Now it should say to do over here. Let's see. Looks like we're getting some of those not a number errors again, because it's trying to fetch all of this. And I wonder if we could do this all in the store, right? Task column store. So if we remove it, it should load, and then I'll put it back on the page. And boom, we should see the right column in progress, I believe is what we just clicked, right? Nope, not a number still. Okay, we still have an issue. Huh. Okay. So I'm going to go to the test store. And I ultimately want to put all that logic there. I guess in the test store, right? Boom, add to do. Okay, perfect. So that's what we want, right? We want that because if we can take care of the reactivity in the store, I think that'll fix this issue too. But would it? Because technically this happens when this component's mounted on the page, but it's not going to happen until the component mounts on the page, right? So maybe we do need to do it in the store. Maybe that's the solution. So boom, that's basically what we need to come up with, is set this data to task column toggled. Let's think about how to do this. So I wouldn't say task store res dot this. It would be, or excuse me, I wouldn't say task store dot that. I think it'd be res dot data dot length. Yeah, I think that's what it would be, right? And then we wouldn't need to fetch this all anymore. I think we would just find just the task column toggled. And I think that would be it. Let's hope, right? So const store task store dot task column toggled. It's not going to work. The functionality won't. But boom, to do. So there we go. The functionality is not going to work because this is setting it up wrong, and it's checking now the new thing we're setting, which is the response.data, which is ultimately just a string of the column name, which is what we want. We also don't need it down here anymore. Let's try it out. Let's see, folks. See if that fixed our problem. We got an issue, but it's reloading. Let's see, loading. So we get a skeleton loader out of this. We got a new little, call it jewelry, if you will, a little Salt Bay project completion thing on it. And obviously it knows what tasks are loaded at this point, I think. So do we do all projects first? Is that what we want to do? I really need to look into the reactivity a little bit more and just understand kind of how server components and all this. So boom, it fetches to do. That's perfect. And maybe we could do the same thing here, how we measure the projects and all this stuff. Maybe that's why. Maybe we could set the projects instead of doing this logic here. Maybe we could do it in the store and then pull it in from the store into here. Right? Maybe that's the idea. So boom, maybe we await that, right? Folks, we're kind of throwing stuff at the wall right now, testing and just playing with reactivity. I do this a lot of the time because it helps me understand in a more tangible way the code. And then if people may, if I may say this about myself, saying like, oh, I can sometimes be really fast with software. It's because of moments like this, because I like try to break stuff. I'm trying to feel it out. I'm trying to understand the thing as a whole, right? Like how does it work if I do this? If I wait here, what would that do? And you'd be surprised. Sometimes you pick up some weird, just left field stuff. Sometimes you don't, sometimes it's a waste of time. But other times it's been incredibly fruitful for kind of learning the handles, getting better at the keyboard itself, right? Like getting the syntax even more down, right? So that's what I enjoy about this process of just kind of wrestling with something. But sometimes I don't enjoy it, obviously, if there's going to be broken things. But okay, so if we go back here, we're project completion at to do. Let's put it to done. Let's make sure our functionality is up to date. Boom. And it's at done. Perfect. Works great. But then the components still aren't loading. And I feel like they were. I feel like that problem was figured out. So it shouldn't have anything to do with this. Task column toggled, right? Let's try. So I had to do, it's already done. It's already figured it out. But our project cards are still not here, I don't believe. So let's console log projects and see when they get delivered. And then if we do need to pull them out of here and put them in the store, obviously we could see the console ninja here working, but I was going to pull over the console. So let's clear. Let's hop over. So nothing. We already know which one's toggled. Nothing, still nothing. So something's not working there, right? Let's see. Let's not do that, maybe. I know these are simple things. I don't think that's actually going to be it, but so it shows nothing. I wonder why that is. I wonder if we do need to await task first. That seems most sensible. So just like that, you wait for the task, set the projects, then set the measurement. So maybe we can also see when the task get delivered. Console log, task store, tasks, I believe. Let's see. So let's try. Let's get off the page. We'll close that out so we don't see the console ninja. Pop it back open. Oh, it's still there. Okay. So we're going to go to our console for this one. Let's see which gets delivered first. Believe the tasks. So their tasks are there. The projects aren't. So the tasks get delivered, and then the projects aren't configured. So, oh, maybe we need to await this because it is trying to, let's not do void then. Let's just take that out. Because it's trying to do the task store, so probably that function's firing off before the task store is tasks. Let's see, does that work? So the tasks have been delivered, and boom, their tasks are there. But the projects aren't configured. Okay. But of course, when we refresh, what happens? I'm going to hard refresh, which is when you press shift and hit the refresh. Okay. Folks, but I do like the progress that we do have that functionality working now, at least where we figured out a way to do it. We're not seeing any user messages. Weird. Okay, so the task get delivered, still no projects. So where do we set them? Set unique projects. If unique projects length equals 0. Oh, you know what? Let's remove that guard clause. Maybe there's some issue with our logic. Basically what I want is I don't want repeating projects, but if the unique project's length is 0, then it's going to return. So overall, nice. Okay. So that fetches pretty quick then. But it looks like we're going to have an issue now. So that works now. Great. Just literally when it finds the to-do. That's awesome. So maybe that was our bug, was something around the actual statement. So let's change it to done. Nice. This is, I love this functionality, by the way, because now the users can track their own management. And I feel like that's a powerful thing. Instead of me dictating as a SaaS product, if you will, saying, no, you have to use this column to manage your product. Well, who's to say? Who's to say when their product's complete? You know what I mean? Who's to say why shouldn't they get their own customality or custom functionality, right? Their own custom measurements, if you will. And they should. They should. And there should also be more than just one. It shouldn't just be based on one column. It should be, based on an array of columns, and then also maybe have a final done column that they can elect, and then also, a combination of columns that would qualify as progress. So I think that's going to be part of the stuff we want to implement. Those are going to be larger functionalities, so I do need to marinate and sit on them and think. But we still have an issue with the unique projects. I think they're still not reactive the way that we want them to be, predictable and reactive. So if unique projects, let's not do length 0. Let's maybe do if no unique projects, return. Okay, so I need to rethink this. This was a accumulator function, and it looks like this needs to be rethought. And basically, all we're going to do is filter out for any repeating project names or any category repeating names. So I think there's going to be an easier way to do it than this function. Yeah, so I'm gonna chalk up the episode though. I'm gonna chalk her up there. I think that is a win on the day that we found a little jewelry. We have a loader, so a little more jewelry on top of that, right? We can come here and see a little bit of a skeleton loader. That's awesome. And let's comment that out. It should be loading something, right? And we can functionally say we want to measure by the to-do column. Boom, there you go. You can measure your project by the to-do column. And if we add task here by the to-do column, we should see the ratio change, right? So we'll say done by to-do. Task priority doesn't matter, right? We'll say to-do, that's fine. Task status, pop it in the to-do column. And boom, we saw the percentage change. That's amazing. And then we should see it also change here because the percentage technically is now less task. So we did see it decrease from 16% to 15.79. This is perfect. And same with done. If we now maybe update some task to the done column. Let's see, done. Oh, we need to change our update task column. Or our task modal, excuse me. If we pop this over to done, because these aren't all of our task objects anymore. So let's pop a few over. Boom, okay, and refresh. So we're gonna have more task in our done column, and then let's change the measurement. Let's double check. Yep, they got out of to do. So let's look at our measurement now. Overall completion at the in progress column is boom. And now we can measure by the done column. And we have a much higher ratio. That's perfect, folks. I'm loving how all the functionality, it's all working together a little bit nice. Of course, I do think looking into this function and building a filter function around the categories, just any repeating categories is what needs to be done now. So relatively easier function, but I am going to wrap the episode up here, guys. Thank you so much for watching the Code Chronicles. Again, we are growing, we are continuing to move forward, and I really appreciate you guys. So thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope there's some fruitful lessons here and fruitful knowledge. Yeah, see you on the next one. Cheers.